What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video we are taking a look at a game called The Alpha, so stick around. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel and you want to see more content like this, start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. So there's a little company, you may have heard of them, called Bicycle, that makes playing cards. These playing cards. And they have just recently started dabbling their feet into publishing some strategy games. They call them light strategy games. There are two that are coming out or are out already, depending on when you watch this video. And one is called Exchange, which we're going to be taking a look at a later date, and another one called The Alpha, which is the game that we're looking at today. It is for ages 10 and up. It is for 3 to 6 players and takes about 45 minutes to play. In this game, you are the leader of a pack of wolves, and you are going to go up against other wolf packs, basically trying to survive and collect food and be the alpha wolf pack that's out there. But is it good? Well, if you'll join me on the table, we will open it up and take a look. Alright, so inside the box we have quite a few cool components here. First we have the board. It's quite long. It's basically a 4-piece section like this. It has a weeks tracker. This is also your food tracker, and a couple of other important pieces of information here, which we'll go over in a minute. You also have your den cards. These go to each of the players. That's why there's 6 of them. The den portion is where we will keep the all of your wolf pieces. And then on the other side over here, we have a conflict results table. So when you do get into a conflict with other wolves on the table, this is a really nice cheat sheet here in order for you to know what to do without having to reference the rulebook. There are, of course, wolf pieces. There's 6 different colors for 6 different wolf packs. And they are pretty neat little wooden sculpts of wolves. And then there's also an alpha wolf, which is basically 2 wolves howling at the moon. And then you have a coordinated, color-coordinated fight and share double-sided tokens. Each player gets one of these to match their colors. You will use these in the conflict resolution phase, which we'll go over in a little bit. You also have a weeks left token, goes on the board. And then you have an alpha token, which shows who has initiative, basically. And then you have the actual animals and stuff that you will try to scavenge food from. So there's a couple of scavenge tokens. These don't have dice coordinated with them. Only one wolf can go here, and there's no coordinated dice for that. Then you have a beaver, a fish, and a hare. These are considered small animals. Then you have a deer, an elk, and a caribou, which are considered medium animals. You have a livestock, there's one of those. And then large animals, you have a moose and a bison. Oh, and we also have dice. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Each one of these animals has a color-coordinated dice. And we will talk about the importance of these once we get to that. But let's get set up for a game, and I'll show you how it plays. Okay, so here we have set up for a 3-player game. Each game is set at 5 rounds, or the weeks left, which is indicated by this marker up here. And there are different phases within each round. Each player will choose a color and then place one of their wolves on the 5. Each pack starts with 5 food that they can then use to go to the deep forest or the near forest, which I'll explain in a minute. And then in a 3-player game, this is the amount of animals that you have to hunt. There's a nice chart in the rulebook that explains how many of each type of animal you have based on the number of players that you're playing with. So here we have a 3-player game. So we have 2 medium, which are these animals up here, 2 small, 1 scavenge, and 1 livestock. You're always going to play with 1 livestock. And then you would, according to the rule book, it's the player who howls the loudest. If you don't want to howl, you can choose any other way to decide initiative, and the person with initiative will get the alpha token, and play will start from there. So there are 5 phases in the round. The first phase is the stalk, then you have established dominance, chase, resolve, and advance. So in the first phase, in the stalk phase, each player has, like I said, you have your board with your den, and on the board you will have an alpha wolf token, which counts as 2 wolves, and then you will have 5 more in your color. So you have a total of 6, plus the 1 on the board. This one always stays there. And in the stalk phase, everyone will go, starting with the alpha player, placing one of their wolf tokens, or their alpha token, their alpha wolf, somewhere on one of these animals that they want to stalk. And the thing to note is that if you want to put a wolf on one of the medium or large sized animals, which is up here in the deep forest, you have to spend a food to do that. So let's say, for example, I wanted to put a wolf here on the deer. I have to spend a food moving over here. So these are high risk, high reward type animals, because you can see they pay out a lot of food. That's these numbers here on the animal, whereas these down here are 4 and 2. You got 9, 7, 6, 5 up here, but you do have to pay a food to get there. So you're going to go around in a circle, starting with the alpha player, placing these animals one at a time wherever it is that you want to place things. And one thing to note is that the scavenge guy down here, everyone is guaranteed to get 1 food from it, but you can only have 1 wolf per pack. So you can't put multiple on there. You're just going to get a food for scavenging from there. Also, the livestock, you can only have 1 wolf, period, placed on the livestock. And it is a very high paying out food. It has a 12 side on the D6, which I'll explain these in a second. But it also has 3 Ds, and the Ds are dead. So you get a dead wolf if you roll this. So you have 3 in 6 chance of being dead. See, you would be dead there. Everything else is kind of, you're trying to establish dominance in that area. So different players are going to place different things on different areas, and then once no one has any wolves left in their den, let's just assume that I don't have any more, we would then go into the establish dominance. Okay, so in the establish dominance phase, you do just that by going around into each region and deciding who has the dominance over the other packs. I made it really simple for this one. Here you have 2 wolves to 1, so the red player would be the dominant pack, the green player would be dominant here, and the blue player would be dominant here. There'll be more on the table, but that's just to give you an idea. And that's a really simple way of establishing dominance. There can also be conflict if there is a tie for dominance. So let's say, for example, this guy here had 2 and 2. These guys would be tied for dominance, and we would go into a conflict. But that comes towards the resolve, into the resolve phase. But first we go into chase. So once you've established all the dominance, you go into chase, which is where you roll a dice for each region where there are wolves. So for example, down here with the hare, the blue player would roll this die. He would get a 2. So on the D6, there's a 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then an X. Anytime you roll an X, you just get nothing. But this guy is going to get a 2. He would take his token back, and then he would get 2 food, and he would advance 1, 2. Same thing up here with this green wolf. He's going to roll the die. He got a C7. That means that there's an automatic conflict that happens. There's no conflict here because there is nothing else. So this guy is just going to get 7 food, which is huge. And then up here, you can see we are tied for dominance, in which case we would then go into the resolve step, or the conflict area. I actually misspoke a moment ago about the C. Whenever you roll a C, you are automatically go into what is called carry-on. Carry-on means that the prey was wounded, and for the next round, it is easier to obtain. You don't have to roll the dice to get it. You just get an automatic 7 without needing to roll the dice in this case. So when you roll that, you would you'd have the conflict, like I said, and you would get the amount of food shown. There's no conflict because there's nothing else. You'd return there was nobody else there. You return the wolves in the region back to the den board, and then after the conflict, you roll over to the carry-on, which basically just means next round, this guy is worth 7 all by himself. He doesn't need to, without having to roll the die, which is really good. So a lot of people will be fighting over that in the next round, I'm sure. Okay, so now for the conflict. The first thing that you do is need to determine how much food is at stake during the conflict. So that is where you will you'll roll the die and see what happens. That is an X, so because of an X, nothing would happen, no conflict, everybody goes back to their board, and there's no food. But let's say, for example, there was a 6. So you rolled a 6. Each player in the conflict secretly decides whether or not they are going to fight or they are going to share. And that's what these double-sided tokens are for. So in this case, these guys would need to determine if they were secretly going to fight or share. If both players choose that they are going to share, then they share the food. Both players would get 3, and everything would go on as normal from there. If one player decided that they wanted to fight and the other wanted to share, for example, then the person who fought gets all of the food from that region. So the red player in this case would get the all 6 of the food. If both players wanted to fight, then one wolf from each fight would be injured and go into this space here. And so if there were 3, for example, and 2 people wanted to fight and 1 person wanted to share, the 2 people that fought, they would be injured, and the guy that shared, he would get 1 food. And once all of the regions have been resolved, you then go into the advance. So all of the remaining wolves would all go back to their den boards. Any injured wolves would move to the healing part of the board. Any healing wolves would then come off and go back to the den board. And you would move the weeks left into the next round, and then whoever has the most food would get the alpha marker, and then play would continue into the next round as it did in the round previous. You're going to do this over and over again for 5 rounds until until the end of the game, and whoever has the highest food count at the end wins. If there is a tie, whoever is holding the alpha token wins in that last round. And that is how you play the game, the alpha. And that, guys, is the alpha. This really is a cute little game. It's very easy to learn and pick up. I appreciate that Bicycle is trying to make strategy games now because, their playing cards are the best on the market. And these components really show through, show the quality that you would expect from Bicycle. I'm not really a huge fan of the insert that comes in the box because stuff doesn't tend to stay inside the insert. But they did include plastic baggies, so that is something, I guess. I would like to see them, maybe give us a little bit better quality on the plastic insert on the inside, especially since everything else in the game really is of the highest top quality, which again is something that you'd expect from a company like Bicycle. So this game gets a thumbs up from me. It really is, like I said, a good little game, especially for families and stuff like that. It's a good entry-level board game. It's not super complicated, and I think that you guys will enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. Make sure that you share it with your family, friends, and your nerdy communities. If you have any games that you would like to see us cover here on our channel, let us know down in the comments section down below. I do read them all, and I do enjoy interacting with you guys. If you have any videos you would like featured on our page, if you want to collaborate with us, you can hit us up on one of our many social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Circle of Nerds. Also, don't forget that we have a podcast that comes out on Tuesdays called The Cosmic Disaster Show. You can find that right here on YouTube or anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts. And for an extra bit of love and affection to us here at the Circle of Nerds, please go check us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/Circle of Nerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I will see you in the next video.